You ever hear the words, you're your own worst critic, you're your own worst enemy, you're your own worst person that beats yourself up, and you're your own nightmare? Well, today that's what we're going to talk about because I went on a walk today, and first off, we're live. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for showing up today. And definitely comment where you're from if you're listening right now. Definitely put that in the chat while we are here. Um, Self criticism. Why do we hate ourselves? I'm not here to go over reasons why, right? Why do I hate myself? Why do we give ourselves a hard time? Why are we so judgmental to ourselves, right? Because most time I'm really helpful to other people, right? I'm very giving, I'm very caring, but there's one thing and one person that I don't treat very fairly, and that's myself. I'm very hard on myself. I'm very tough on myself. I'm very judgmental of myself. And I definitely can criticize myself more than anyone can ever harm me. Right? You could call me every name in the world. There is nothing that compares to what I tell myself pretty much every single day. And here it takes work. And the reason I'm talking about this today is because I want to go live at a different time, trying to do a different day at a different time and see what the turnout is and see how it comes. Of course, it's still testing, right? Testing a new channel and doing what you got to do. But at the same time, you're an idiot. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this time? You did it yesterday. You always say it's on Saturdays. You should have did it on Saturday. And I'll beat myself up for not delivering, for not following through, even though the plan is exactly what it's supposed to be doing right now, and that's to do it at a different time. Now, we're not talking about this at all. That just popped up in my head right now. But what I'm going to talk about is it's summertime, right? And that means here in Las Vegas, it's already 95 degrees, which means it's pretty fucking hot. And that means my shirt's coming off at some point. And I am not comfortable with that at all. And people say, oh, what are you, nuts? Like, you're a trainer, you're a coach, you've done this, you've done. To you, it may perceive or seem like it's that simple. For me, it's like trying to show the world that I can sing. And I may have flaws, and I may not be pitch perfect, and I may not be able to hit these really super high notes, right? And I'd be scared to show what it is I'm allowed to or I can do. And that's for me, someone that works out. I don't work out. I work out to feel good, right? Of course, vanity is an extra for that, but it's hot. Like, I want to take my shirt off so I don't get tan lines because I can wear a tank top all day long. I don't want to be the guy that has like a tank top tattoo, like a tank top tattoo from the sun. I want to comfortably take off my shirt, and I can't do it. Right? I can't do it. It's a very, I don't want to say can't. I do not like to. I always can. Right? But it's the repercussions of what goes on in my head is where I can't. So I did do it today, but it was just my own self thought of or self practice of what I think I can do to make it easier for myself. So I did look up DBT stuff as I always do, right? Go back to my therapy and my skills and what are the skills that I can use to help myself um, end that self criticism and that, that voice inside your head. And this doesn't mean with only just that. That was just today. Right? But there's a lot of self criticism that I give myself daily, hourly, every minutely. Is that a word, minutely? Probably not. But I know that it can come to that. And this is podcast number 153, guys. Thank you for coming out live. I do appreciate it. Like I said, I'm always testing and trying. So I want to see if the live has a different angle to it, to the algorithm. And, it doesn't really matter. I'm still here. Right, I'm here weekly, regardless. So come on out, and if you haven't subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. And the one thing that I actually listened to something today. What was it? It popped up. There it goes. I was listening to Mind Pump podcast. It's a training podcast for people that like to work out and that like to talk about training and fat loss and eating and nutrition. Three guys, don't know their names, but very interesting to me. But I got on them many years ago and then got back on it just more recently. Sometimes you pop in, pop off, just like my podcast. You'll pop in and pop off whenever you can. But something popped in where he said, in order to do something new, you have to leave something behind. And this is the concept that we've all thought about and all been talking about for the past couple months here on this podcast, right? In order to do something new, you have to leave something behind. You have to shed that skin. You have to shed that light. You have to leave that snake skin behind in order to do something different, right? You got to hatch out of the cocoon or cocoon, the cocoon to become a butterfly. We have to change. So when I heard that while I was walking, I still had my shirt on. So instead, I know I'm not very comfortable doing it in public where there will be cars driving by me or near houses, but I am fortunate enough to live in new development properties where there's a lot of streets that are not even housed yet. Just a structure of the street, and they're contained by a fence, right? There's a barrier. You can't really get into it. So what's good for me is that I took the shirt off and I did my 40-minute walk to reflect and think, but within the console of this property. So no one is there. Getting used to doing things. I had to literally shed my skin, right? And doing something different in order to see and seek some type of change. In order to do something new for me is be comfortable in my skin, I have to get rid of something old, which was a thought of me not doing it. And I hope that makes sense. Based off that, I have the 3 DBT skills that I looked up that I can now use to continue doing this progression throughout the next couple of days or weeks or how long it's going to take. And people don't understand like how hard it is to do it. And the reason, actually, let's go through right now, right? So the first one is mindfulness, right? And that's kind of one skill that always comes back to DBT. And what it says definition-wise, practice being present in the moment without judgment. That's very hard, right? So that's why I believe that's the most important part. The most important part is to be mindful that this is how I feel. This is what I want to do. And these are things that I have to work on in order to do so. So when I did take my shirt off, I have to understand that maybe someone is going to be there and will see me. What they're going to say doesn't have to matter, even though to me it does. Right? The way you feel, like I did not feel good. And I have to acknowledge the fact that I did not feel good. Right? I did not feel comfortable. I feel bloated. I feel fat. I feel ugly. I don't even want to say ugly. So it's just like I feel gee. I feel like I ate 35 pounds of salt and then drank 10 gallons of water and just feel like this bloated mess. And that's what it feels like to me. So just being mindful of like the situation and where I'm at and how I'm feeling was very difficult to do so, but I did it, right? And these exercises are things that you do. I don't say you have to do, but we have to choose to do. Right? We always say that we have to do this and have to do that. And I say that all the time, right? I gotta do this. No, I don't have to do anything. I choose to do these things because this is the result and outcome that I want out of it. Right? Like I don't have to clean my house. Right? I could be a hoarder and step on garbage all day long. There's people that do that. No, but I choose to because I don't want the house to smell. I want some sanity within the house and I want to be clean. Right? These are my choices to clean. So it's the same thing with here. I don't have to do these things, but I choose to do these skills in order for me to feel better about the things that I'm working on. And I guess this move to emotional regulation, which is part 2. Emotional regulation. Learn to identify and label your emotions, understand their triggers, and develop healthy ways to manage them. What do I feel when I take my shirt off. This is the stories behind it. I think the word is embarrassed. I really couldn't figure out the emotion that I was feeling until I did this exercise because I would say, I hate it. Ugh, I feel uncomfortable, right? Say, I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. I don't like it. I don't feel good, right? Those aren't true emotion. What's the real emotion that you feel when you take your shirt off? I feel embarrassed. Now, there's two, maybe three things of why, right? Number one, I grew up a fat kid. I was a fat kid. I kind of still feel like I am at some points. No, I do. Not at some points, I feel like I am. It's funny because that should be the skin that should be shed, right? To move on, let it go. Very tough. But the main word I look for there is I'm embarrassed. Because when you're a fat kid, people make fun of you. And where I grew up, and at the time that I grew up, and my friends that I've had, ball busters, sarcastic motherfuckers, Italians, skinny kids, they make fun of you, right? And they make fun of the way you look. They make fun of the way you appear. Not only that, I was like the Asian kid on top of that. So now I'm Buddha and something, Mr. Miyagi. Who else they call me? Fucking when Star Wars was out, they call me Jabba the Hutt, and then they would call me Chunk from Goonies, and then they would call me what's the Asian one? Can't remember the Asian one. Nah, it's all right. Doesn't matter. Either one, fat Asian kid, sumo wrestler, whatever. Right? You just don't feel good. So now imagine having to go in a swimming pool or in a sprinkler or a slip and slide if you have one. It is not the best feeling in the world, especially when you're of that size. And the highest I was even into high school was 235 until I started to lose weight and understand that, I can do something about it. And that's another story. But growing up, it's not something I felt really good for. I got a dirty neck, you know. I felt like I was pretty fast though for a fat kid. Not gonna lie, I had like black armpits because of all just the shitty food I was eating, and I used to think it was because I was really fat and like dirt would stick to my skin more. No, it was just probably malnutrition, and now your body gets all these blemishes on them in different areas, right? But it's embarrassment, and then you could even move forward because then after I did lose weight using methods that I would not choose to use, I got into bodybuilding, where now you get to pristine. Now you get to perfect, right? Perfection. That winner for having a body on stage that can win trophies and medals and placements and recognition. And people clap for you for having this perfect body. And then you have to go to the real world again, where you do not hold competition physique all year long. Some do, all right? There's some motherfuckers out there that are that lucky or just have that gift to do so. For me, no. I have the fat kid syndrome that has to work really hard in order to achieve that physique. And then when I lose it, I'm embarrassed because how can someone that look like that going to look like that? You know what I mean? It's almost like when a celebrity like is in a movie and like they're all ripped up for their role, and then TMZ puts a picture of them like 2 months later, like fat and out of shape. So yeah, no shit, because they cut. It's a period of time, and it's normal, right? It's part of life. Some of them are not naturally like that; they have to become that. And then they have the six pack all year long, and they have the stridations all year long, and they have this build all year long. But then the people that don't, and for me, I'm not one of them. I may be strong, I think I have a decently good physique for sure, but I don't have that perfection. And that makes me feel embarrassed because I've lived that person for a long time. And for me to go to a point where I'll never forget this one, even just like the smallest comment, like bugs me and irks me. It was probably 2000. And like, this is how hard this shit hits me, right? It was like 2012. No, 2013 or 14. It was in the second crank we had, the bigger garage gym. And I remember I was working out with the class and I was doing pull ups. And one of the high school kids came behind me and like grabbed my leg. Like I was good shape. I was like, I was in fucking good shape then too. And he grabbed my love handles. He was like, "What are these, coach?" And I was like, "This motherfucking kid. Fucking kid. Don't ever touch me again." Of course, I laugh it off. Like, "Get the fuck out of here. But it like obviously it stuck to me till this day. And it's 10 more years ago, 50. I don't even know how many years we are now from when it was. I can still remember the exact moment he did it because it was almost like having that one fear of like happening and then someone validated it. Someone was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Damn, I feel like I got big love handles. I don't want to take my shirt off." But through my shirt, he kind of just saw it, I guess. And he was like, "What are these?" And I was like, "Fuck you in your face." And he grabbed them. And like my worst fear actually came true. And that's why it stuck so bad. And I have to understand that you gotta give yourself that break. And that's why I'm here doing this. It's like, how do I stop this cycle? And I'm sure I always stop for a little while. That always comes back. It's always continuing. I don't think it's ever going to stop, but I would even just say, how do I work on, right? How can I make this better? How can I make this livable? And that's with practice, right? That's with practice. So like, I know I went out today and I walked around with no shirt on in a very confined area where no one can see me. And then next time I will try to hit a couple streets where there are people and embrace that feeling of fear. Just like if you're giving a speech or having to step on stage, you gotta do it, right? If you want to speak, you gotta do it. It's gonna suck. It's the worst. You gotta do it. As a stand-up comic, because I know I did stand-up comedy too. When you do it, like you guys, no matter what, and it sucks, whether it's good or bad, it's the worst feeling ever. But you got to keep doing it, and through that repetition, it gets a little easier. I'm not gonna say it gets easy, but it does get a little easier. So that's what I'm trying to do here: is wean my way in. Start with baby steps. I'm officially gonna burp, and that's live. So I appreciate live. Can't wipe that away. So I already forgot what I was saying anyway. Oh yeah, you got to wean into it, and little by little, I'm going to do it. It was fun. I liked walking. It felt good. It felt not good, you know what I mean, because I was very self conscious while I was doing it. But at the end, I was like, man, I got some good sun. I got some I felt the sweat going. I didn't have a t-shirt on. The entire felt air and just felt nature. It felt good. So I want to keep using that feeling to continue doing exactly what I'm trying to do. Maybe a little bit more now in public because it's going to be pool season and I'm going to go in a pool. And I don't want to fucking stand in a pool and dunk my body underneath the water and stay underwater the entire time and be afraid to get out to go to my fucking chair because there's going to be people there and I'm going to think they'll be talking about me. It's so complex, but it's something, right? Of course, you can seek support. It says, I understand that, but I think self-validation is, I think, what I just did, right? It says self-validation. What do you think that means? Self-validation. Challenge negative self-talk by acknowledging your efforts and accomplishments, no matter how small they may be. So I think I just did that, right? Self-validating. Validate the work that you did. Validate the efforts that you're giving yourself. Validate your even your what's the word there? I don't know. Give yourself some credit when you're doing little things versus like, I don't want to just go. I mean, I probably maybe can. I'm sure I'll do it at some point, but I just want to feel comfortable doing it. I want to be able to let that go. Of course, if I have to go to the pool, my kid, I'm going to take my shirt off. I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to feel confident about it. I'm not going to feel good about it. And that's forever, right? Every time you see me, like I'm not comfortable with my, you will never see me with my shirt off unless I am in the pool, right? I've never played basketball with no shirt. I never like went outside and walked around with no shirt. I just don't do that because I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm embarrassed to do it. But these are the steps it is. And it's really just dealing with the truth and giving yourself the credit when needed. So you could use this skill or these skills into anything that you're self-criticizing yourself for. You know, what are your insecurities? What are the things you're working on? What are the things that you want to do but are afraid to do because you're scared of something, or there's a fear, or there's an embarrassment? What are the emotions, right? Check. Be mindful now, right? Be mindful of what it is. What's the present situation without judgment? It's like, I want to be better. I want to feel this. Number two, be emotion regulation. What's the emotion now? What's the emotion that stopped you from doing it? Mine was embarrassment. Maybe yours is fear or sadness or whatever. You know, and while you're doing that work, you find it. Let's see, I don't know if there's a couple more things that said in here. Self-validation. Give yourself some credit, you know, for the little things. I could even put this into working out. Like a lot of people want to lose weight, or they want to do this, or they want to, because they don't want to feel the way that I feel too, I'm sure. But maybe you started by just taking a walk today. Maybe you don't want to feel depressed. So you started by stretching today, or getting up and walking outside into the real sun instead of staying inside the house. But what a lot of people will do, self included, this is what I'm going to talk about in the next podcast. This is the stuff I'm going to talk about in the next podcast. That depression can be overcome. You know, we can overcome depression. I'm living truth. That's what I want to talk about on the next one. But for today, like if you're depressed, most of us would walk outside with the intention of trying to feel better, and then come inside and be like, oh, I quit. I already quit. I only did it for 2 minutes and I quit. And we beat ourselves up because we're so used to negatively talking about ourselves and things, or maybe not even feeling anything, that we don't acknowledge or validate the good thing that we just did, even if it was just 2 minutes. You know, look at the small things that you can do in your change or whatever it is we're trying to get through. And give yourself a little pat on the back. Little Barry Horowitz. You guys don't know who Barry Horowitz is? He's the worst of the best, or the best of the worst. He's a WWE wrestler, WWF during the time. And he was the guy that was always the extra guy. But he was the best one of the worst ones. So he always used to like pat himself on the back. So whenever I think of patting myself on the back, I think of Barry Horowitz. It's it's a kid thing. It's just I was raised and grown up. That's what I thought about for the most of the time. So I'm going to read that definition again, because I feel like this is the most important one. Self-validation. That's a skill, right? That's a skill in mindfulness, or that's a skill in DBT. Challenge negative self-talk by acknowledging your efforts and accomplishments, no matter how small they may seem. Now, of course, number 6 is something I think we all should do. It's seek support. Don't hesitate to reach out to a therapist or a friend or support group or additional guidance or encouragement. I always say that because if you are having trouble, reach out to a friend, right? Reach out to a therapist, reach out to a group or a counselor or a parent or a teacher, someone that you can trust. And maybe they will help you find something, who knows, right? Guide you in a different way than what you're thinking. Because a lot of times we can't do a lot of things by ourselves, right? I'm fortunate enough to be able to do so, but there's so many times that I have to reach out to my therapist, or talk to my brother, or talk to my wife, or talk with sometimes she just yell at me the entire time. Or I'll call a friend, you know, and that's like, see what I just did with my wife? Like that's the proximity bias, right? That's where like I probably wouldn't listen too much to her because we're in such close proximity It's almost like when a son or a kid doesn't listen to their parents, but their teacher or coach will tell them the same exact information, and they'll believe the teacher before the parent. A perfect example, it was Joe Montana. Joe Montana has a son. I believe it's Joe Montana. I think it was Joe Montana, or it's another quarterback. Please don't say John Elway. I don't remember. But he would teach his son how to become a quarterback, but he couldn't. Joe Montana or John Elway, the best of quarterbacks in the NFL Hall of Fame, couldn't teach his own son how to throw a football or be a quarterback because the son was there's so much proximity bias between those two that he couldn't get through his head. So he'd have to get a coach, an outside person looking into the situation to make it better, and it worked. I don't know the future of that, but that was a story that I've heard once. So I'm now giving you and delivering you the same story. But it is live, which means we got to go because my kids are by themselves right now and my wife is not here. So I'll see you later. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Next week, we will be talking about pretty much an update of like, how did I come to this, where I am now from where I was? And it's going to be 3 years coming to this podcast. And I'm really excited. I'm really am excited to where we're going with this, what's happening with it, and where I am presently. But even more so, I am so grateful for you guys coming out every week for the past 3 years, just checking out the podcast, checking out the videos, and just listening. Because a lot of this talk through is just myself. And, the more I think about this, it's pretty fucking amazing to where I believe that when I first started, nothing was going to come of it. And I thought I would have quit in probably 2 months. So 3 years later, still here, still going, and still got a lot of stuff we got to talk about. So I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Maybe give you a little exit music. What do you want? This one? Tell me. That sucked. That didn't work. How about this one? This one. Good song. It's not a good song. It's terrible, actually. All right. I'll see you later. Episode number 153, Mental Mobility Podcast. Check us out on Instagram. I opened up a new account there. So at Mental Mobility, I believe that's it. Add, follow, whatever you got. Until next time, guys. Peace out.